good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
What's up? Greetings, Earthlings. What up, what up, what up? The strings attached. Greetings, Earthlings. They're connected to our present of a culture.
That's crazy what he did. He took the military out before he took the civilians. Who does that?
Under his watch.
What has he done about police reform in this country? Nothing.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Unsolicited Genius. I am your curator, Carlton Ennis, and I am with the teacher, preacher, and beseecher, Mo Lockby. On today's show, we will talk about Ahmad Arbery, Aaron, and immunization. We hope to give you something to ponder.
Unsolicited Genius. You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.
What up, Mo?
What's going on, my brother? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
No complaints, man. Just sitting here watching this Monday night football game between the Steelers and the Bears.
What they looking like? It's on commercial.
7-0 Steelers, man.
Who you got?
In this game tonight, the Steelers. I'm not confident in Chicago's ability to score points.
Yeah, as it came out of my mouth, it felt like a silly question. I mean, I got the Steelers, but so far, if it's only 7-0, maybe it'll be a good game. All right, so for headliners today, we got two trials taking place at the same time. We have a trial in the death of Ahmad Arbery and Kyle Rittenhouse's homicide trial. What say you?
Well, we can start with the Ahmad Arbery trial, man. I've been following closely, and the jury selection definitely scares me. I don't understand how they come up with a jury that's comprised of 11 Caucasian people and 1 African-American. When you just simply look at the area that they live in, shouldn't the jury selection, Carlton, resemble the area and the population where the trial is taking place, where the crime was committed? And I just don't see that in this jury selection, and it terrifies me. Like, to me, this case is so cut and dry that they murdered this man. And this nonsense that they were out there making a citizen's arrest, that just doesn't fly with me, man. And there has been levels of corruption in this case from the very beginning, from their involvement with the DA's office to her telling police not to take action. You know, so much corruption was involved. It had to be given into the hands of other people to try to bring justice for this young man. And I'm worried about this jury selection. I don't want it to seem like I don't believe these 11 white people could come to the right decision, because I do believe there's good people everywhere. But why doesn't the jury resemble the population of the community where they live? I would feel the same way if you told me, Carlton, that they gave 11 black jurors and 1 white for them. You know, that wouldn't be right either. But this seems a little crazy to me.
Well, the only input I have into the put in the thought is it is a jury of your peers. And so the peer in the case is the person on trial. Now, who their peers are and what all of the jury represents, I'm with you. I mean, my position is, as you stated, there's been corruption at so many different avenues in this case. One, why would it stop now? So we got to keep our eyes open. But then 2, it is so cut and dry. So we're going to have to see how it unfolds. It's not like we haven't been here before. You and I
tell us cut and dry, Carlton, but you know, one of the greatest things you've taught me in life is cut and dry is in the eyes of the beholder. Like, to you and I, it's cut and dry. To others, This is not cut and dry. This is the good old boys were protecting their community and going out there to make a citizen's arrest, which is just absurd when you think about it. But, you know, this is what worries me. This is the judge. The judge agreed that there appears to be intentional discrimination in the case, but he said he was limited in his ability to take action because defense attorneys were able to give non-racial reasons. He's acknowledging that the basis of this discrimination is because of their race, but he's saying because of other things we're not allowed to take. And then, did you see what the defense attorney said about the jury? He said it's still discriminating against his clients because there's not enough Bubbas on the jury, Carlton. And the judge is taken aback. He's like, what is a Bubba? And he goes, not to be stereotypical, but a Bubba is a 40-year-old white male that is not college educated. So they could relate more to his clients, like
his peers.
He's claiming
he
discrimination.
A jury of his peers.
But Carlton, a jury of your peers means people from your community, not people that are like-minded. That's like the KKK. They commit a crime and they're like, I'm not happy with this jury because you don't have other KKK members on the jury. Those are my peers. What about the victim? What about his peers? What about people that look like him in these deliberations that these juries are going to make? I mean, this is nothing to take lightly. A young man lost his life. 3 people have their freedom on the line. How is 11-1 fair in a community where the county is 25% Black? In a community where 47% of the population in the place it took in is Black, and you give me 11 white jurors and 1 Black? That's crazy to me.
Well, we're here, as you so eloquently stated. This looks like the jury that we got. So we got to see what they do.
And I just want to make it clear, by no means am I passing judgment on these folks' ability to be able to be objective and come to the proper conclusion. I don't know them. I don't know anything about them.
We do not know, right.
It just feels like it shouldn't be a jury of 11 white people and 1 Black person when this trial involves, as the defense attorney would say, to use his quote, 3 Bubbas who killed a Black man.
So where we agree is we have to give them a chance. This is where we are. So what about Kyle Rittenhouse? Thoughts there?
You know, my thoughts are very simple on Kyle Rittenhouse. I hope he ends up spending the rest of his life in jail, man. Like, what Kyle Rittenhouse did is insane. People, this isn't Batman, Carlton. You don't get to just go out into the street and have vigilante justice. And let's be honest too, Carlton, are Black people allowed to go make citizens arrests? Because if this was a Black person, we wouldn't even need the trial. They just bury him right under the jail already. So I have no empathy for Kyle Rittenhouse. I can't stand Kyle Rittenhouse. Once again, you know, you got to put your faith in the jury to do the right thing. And in my opinion, Kyle Rittenhouse should spend the rest of his life in a federal prison.
Well, we also know that he is celebrated in many circles, many public-facing circles. So this too is going to be a case based on perceptions. Not much to add. I did double check to make sure that the charges were homicide, because in all the rigmarole related to the superhero complex, I didn't know, I wasn't sure where they might go. So I said, let me just double check to make sure it's that. So yeah, he is on trial for his life, that's for sure. And it seems, at least from what I've heard in his case, there's a lot that didn't make it to the camera. So,
I mean, I just look at Kyle Rittenhouse too, Carlton. I don't see any remorse on his face. I don't see someone that feels any kind of contrition for what occurred that night. I mean, and then the defense is claiming self-defense. One of the gentlemen he shot was unarmed. Joseph Rosenbaum, 36 years old, was unarmed.
Yeah, he's a vigilante.
How's that self-defense?
You got vigilantes that are criminalized and celebrated at the same time. And so...
And this young man came from another state,
right, with
an AK. You can't tell me he wasn't intent on using this weapon. That was the point of coming in the first place. Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm glad they charged him. What did they charge him with, Carlton? 7 charges: first-degree intentional homicide, first-degree reckless homicide, first-degree attempted intentional homicide. And now, you know, once again, like in the other trial, like you said, we just put our faith in the jury and hope that they come to the appropriate conclusion and get justice for these people that can't even speak anymore because they're not with us.
What if they don't? You know where you were, I know where I was when Rodney King's trial took place. So what if they don't?
I think in the Arbery trial, I live in Georgia. I truly believe, like, if that verdict doesn't come back guilty, I definitely could see people going to the streets because there'll be a level of frustration with that trial. I don't encourage rioting. You know how I feel, man. I'm not for violence. I'm not, but
yes, we are nonviolent.
we
All
are, and
that we
we are
believe.
very nonviolent. But Carlton, sometimes it feels like the only thing they listen to or the only thing they respond to is riots. Like it just feels that way sometimes. And a lot of these alleged riots are really just peaceful protests that someone gets out of hand and then it turns into something else. Kyle Rittenhouse shot an unarmed man and killed him, then shot another man and killed him, then shot a paramedic that was trying to get him to stop him from doing this. Like, look at the Capitol. They stormed the Capitol and they endanger all of our elected officials' lives. And there's more deaths at Kyle Rittenhouse hands than happened at the Capitol that day.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I say, what if they don't, right? Part of me says, why even put that energy out there? And I guess it's
we live in
me,
America.
Right. It's history, and the past doesn't have to be an indicator of the future. It often is, but it don't have to be. But when you bring up the Capitol, the siege on the Capitol, when I saw the initial headline and saw all the people climbing the walls, my next immediate thought is a whole lot of people got shot today. Like, I just knew there was no ifs, ands, or buts around how it could be done. If you siege anything in Washington, D.C., you get pushed back violently. But it didn't happen. And so I can't assume no more. I mean, probably had plenty of lessons early in life that suggested, ass out of you and umption, however you choose to play it. But assuming gets you to trouble land fast. And with our judicial system, with the way the laws in the country get applied, we got a history that speaks to it being unfair, but it hits that point where certain things just seem so obvious. I should expect or should be able to be confident in it being applied in a way that the spirit in which it was intended for it to be applied. But that don't happen. And so to have these two trials where, from our perspective, things seem so obvious, history has shown us what is obvious to me is not necessarily what will be obvious to 12 other people put in the position to make the decision on this thing. So prepare yourself.
I'm like you, man. I just pray that the right verdict is reached here so we don't have to worry about what happens afterwards. Let's just get justice for these people that died and continue down a path where we try to have some kind of coming together and some harmony within people in this country. But if these gentlemen are found innocent, it's just another step backwards. And I don't see things progressing for the better, man. I just don't, if these gentlemen are not found guilty. Because like you said, I think most reasonable people would refer to these gentlemen by what they really are, Carlton: murderers. Simple as that.
Well, I will hope for the best. I am a man of peace. I believe in love, but I also believe in, justice and doing what's right. So I'll give each jury its space. I too pray, and let's sit back and see. We'll be back after the break. All right, Mo, before we hop into what in the sports you had a stat fact check that you wanted to redo?
Yeah, and for the purposes of, being accurate in the numbers that we provide, in the Ahmad Arbery trial, 27% of Glenn County, where the trial is being held, is African-American, Carlton. And in the city where he was killed, Brunswick, Georgia, 55% of that population is African-American. So, once again, how is it possible that we ended up with a jury of 11 whites and 1 black? That just doesn't seem feasible, my brother.
Fair enough. So what in the sports, before we get into NFL, NBA, or anything else, we have a PSA on drinking and driving?
Just something that's weighing heavy on my chest, man. I'm not sure if people are aware of the story involving Henry Ruggs. He's a 22-year-old NFL wide receiver. He was the 12th pick in the NFL draft for the Las Vegas Raiders. He looked like he had a promising career, and he decided to go get liquored up one night this past week or past 2 weeks. He got in his car. He was doing 157 miles per hour. He ran into the back of a young lady's car. He instantly set that car into flames. And this young lady, who's only 23 years old, ends up burning alive inside of her car. I'm just tired of seeing the drunk driving, Carlton. We need to be more responsible than that, because when we take those kind of actions into our hands, you don't only endanger your life, you endanger the lives of everyone else on the road. This young lady was just going home with her dog. She didn't deserve to die this evening. She didn't do anything wrong. And because of the reckless actions of this young man, she's now no longer with us. So my condolences go out to her family. I have empathy for the young man too. He's 22 years old. He clearly made a mistake, a horrific and tragic mistake at that. His NFL career is probably over. And he should probably serve jail time for his actions, man. Like, he's still alive. She's not. I don't feel they should throw the book at him. He's a young man that definitely made a tragic mistake. But this doesn't happen if there's people looking out for him, Carlton, telling him not to do this. Don't get in the car. Let's call the Uber. Let's call the Lyft. Let's use the service that the NFL provides for free to you to avoid things like this. It's just, and it's not just him, it's our whole society. People don't take the necessary precautions when they plan to go out and drink. They think they can handle it, and they get behind the wheel and they're like, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And we clearly see over and over and over that they're not good. And the majority of the time, Carlton, I don't know why it feels like this. It feels like the drunk driver who hits the person, it's always the person that dies and not the drunk driver. I'm tired of seeing lives wasted on both ends. This young man's going to spend time in prison now. This young lady's never going to see her family again. And all because he wanted to consume alcohol and he refused to have someone else drive him home. People, please stop this. Use your Ubers, use your Lyfts, have a designated driver, use your friends. Use whatever means you need to get home other than you getting drunk and getting behind the wheel of a car and endangering everyone in the street. People have families, people have kids in these cars. They don't deserve to die because of your reckless actions. That's all I have to say about that. I feel bad on both ends, man.
All right. So we pray for those not with us. We pray for the living. We transition into talking about sports. NFL is hot right now. NFL is hot right now. We had Jacksonville with the win over Buffalo. In the kind of game I like. I like a low-scoring defensive battle, if that's what you want to call it.
I love that shit, Carlton. 9-6. Oh, that was a great game.
I was, we talk about Urban, but to see his face, he was happy.
He looks like Urban looked like a man that was about to hit the Duval nightclub and get on some young
Nah,
ladies. That's what Urban
they need to keep an eye on him. They know what happened last time. So hopefully he could just go home and enjoy the win.
Like you said, man, it's a good game, but the problem in the game is Buffalo, because Jacksonville isn't going to do anything. Buffalo can't come out there as a Super Bowl contender and lose that game to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not looking like that. That's a horrible loss on Buffalo's end. Especially, you know, every game this year, Carlton, like the importance of every NFL game has always been high, right? Especially this year, though, because there's only one first-round bye. So you can't afford to mess around and lose games to Jacksonville, even Tennessee. Tennessee seems to slap every good team they play, but they've lost to the Jets this year. These are the losses that could come back and haunt you.
They had an impressive win, man. There's no way I see them winning that game. I knew their defense is formidable, but, you know, they're not locked down, and the Rams are hot. Before yesterday, the hottest team in the league from my perspective. So in no way, shape, or form did I imagine Tennessee getting that W, but they beat the smack out of the Rams.
Oh, they dominated the Rams. But what I'll say about the Titans defense, man, they got two very crucial players on that defense, Carlton. Did you see Jeffrey Simmons yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
He had 3 sacks. Did you see the one where he pushed the O-lineman 10 yards back into Matt Stafford and then dropped Stafford?
That's supposed to be his boy job, but they had Aaron Donald working, man. Did you see the one play where he did a slip dip and he leaped? He almost had the running back. That was like a lion missing his prey.
How athletic is he, man?
You see like the athleticism, right?
The leap was just unbelievable.
He missed his prey. That was
the other Tennessee defender that I really like, Carlton, is the safety, Kevin Beard. I mean, that dude has an instinct for the game that's very impressive, man. And his little pick six, you know, when they interviewed him, he admitted, he goes, I wasn't really supposed to be there. He goes, I was out of position. But he goes, but I just felt something. I felt the ball was going there and I jumped it. And it's like, you know, those are the things you can't teach football players, just the natural instinct of the feeling that they have. And he made a spectacular play, man. Credit to that.
That's Xavier McKinney. Our Alabama draft pick has arrived, baby.
For those of you that don't know, full disclosure, Carlton is a New York Giants fan.
Woo, woo, woo.
They won yesterday in another upset of the Oakland Raiders. I'm just going to give Carlton his props because he's dying to tell America this. His prediction for the game was that the Giants would win 24-17. The actual score was 23-16. Just giving him his props to get that out the way. There was so many upsets yesterday, man. Arizona was impressive, Carlton. They walked into San Francisco and smacked my team with the backup quarterback and without DeAndre Hopkins. They didn't just beat us. They absolutely steamrolled us.
Yep. Minus AJ Green's,
minus AJ Green, no Hopkins. You know, they still went in there. Man.
With or without their quarterback.
I was a big critic of the hire of Kingsbury. I still feel it was bullshit he got the job because he didn't earn it on his merit at Texas Tech. But when given the opportunity, he's running with it clearly. Arizona looks good. Arizona looks real good. I thought the Falcons were impressive, man, to go on the road and beat New Orleans.
But impressive for what? What they going to do?
I just didn't think they were going to beat New Orleans. Like, I don't think they're going to do anything. But you thought they were going to beat New Orleans? Because I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Not after the showing they had against Carolina.
I'm hating a little bit. It's just, they did look good, which they looked like who you think they probably could be or should be or thought they might be preseason. But they'll give you one, give one back, et cetera, but the Saints are rivals, so either way, it matters for them.
See, that would be my thing that I would tell people too about the NFL. You're going to have upsets any given Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. But the main difference between the good teams and some of these other teams we're talking about, Carlton, is that consistency. Atlanta could come out, go to New Orleans, beat New Orleans, and New Orleans, they could come out next week and lay a complete egg and just completely get blown out. You know, it's the consistency that separates the tiers of teams in the NFL.
So that segue into our favorite Cleveland Browns.
They're clearly better without your boy Odell Beckham Jr.
Clearly?
I'm not telling you that he's a bad player.
So you settled on that? Him. You think it's done? Is they're better officially? No hands, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Better without Odell.
He tore his ACL last year and didn't play all year, right? They went to the playoffs, correct?
The stats show it. Yeah.
Yeah, they went to the playoffs, and this year, look what they did. They went on the road and just annihilated the Bengals at home, 41-16. Cincinnati Bengals, talk about a team that can't handle prosperity. They go 5-2, walk into Baltimore, slap Baltimore, and they follow that up with 2 horrific losses to drop down to 5-4. I'm surprised you ain't talking about the big upset of the week. I'm surprised you ain't mentioned it yet.
Oh, say the best for last.
Say the best for last. We'll wait. Now let me go through some of these other games.
Green Bay lost.
Green Bay still think Jordan Love is the answer because it didn't look like he was the answer. Hey man, what is wrong with Patrick Mahomes? If Aaron Rodgers plays that game, Carlton, Green Bay absolutely destroys them. Like, they put up 13 points. They don't even look like they know how to play offense anymore, Carlton.
Something is up. What is up? It's up and it's up. I don't know.
The whole offense just looks crazy, man. Like, they look like they can't get anything done. The Chargers went on the road, got themselves a nice win against the Eagles. I like to see that. The Ravens were able to come back and beat the Vikings.
Man, the Vikings gave it away.
Right. The Vikings can't get right, man. The Vikings are like the best team you've ever seen for 3.5 quarters. Then the fourth quarter, it's just like a disaster.
I love their uniforms.
They don't show up, and probably that's because their quarterback is like that. Sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't show up. I'm done with the Minnesota Vikings, man.
Yeah, our boy Jared, he's a Gator fan, and he is a Minnesota Viking fan. So,
well, he's doing a lot of hurting on the weekends this year.
Yeah, this week was tough on him, for sure.
And then, finally, to wrap it up, to bring it full circle, Carlton, how about them Cowboys?
America's team. Boy, they got stomped. The Broncos.
Man, you're gonna have me sleeping on the couch tonight, man. You know that's my wife's team, but that was a no-show,
man. And they went after Primetime Junior. They went after him.
No. Only you call him Primetime Junior. I told you I'm not ready to give him that, and that's the reason why. Because Deion Sanders doesn't get dead by Tim Patrick ever in his life. That's one. Two, Dak Prescott was awful in that game.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have been playing. He needs to chill, man. You better protect them legs.
Awful in that game.
Protect them legs.
Man, Dallas, full disclosure, has a good team, Carlton. Yeah. That they have great players on both sides of the ball. But you know what they don't have? They don't have great coaching. And that, to me, is what you'll always have to be concerned about as a Dallas fan. Do you trust Mike McCarthy? Because I don't.
Well, they dropped some plays. Their coaching has significantly improved as the Giants inherited Jason Garrett as offensive coordinator. But clock management, decision-making, strategy, things that's relevant for the collective coaching job. Can you trust them? That is the question.
No. And Dallas can't come out at home and go down 30-0. Like, that's inexcusable, man. Yeah, that's not that. I don't mind. You can't ever let that happen. They're just crazy.
They could do it every time. It'll be fine with
me. Especially when they're playing a team, like, if we're being honest, they're the better team. They have way more talent than Denver. That was a horrific L for the Dallas Cowboys, man.
I'll take it. So we mentioned Jordan Love and his performance, but the reason he was playing is because Aaron Rodgers was immunized but not vaccinated and has COVID, so or tested positive for COVID. So was he immunized? Was he vaccinated? Well, he wasn't vaccinated, but what is immunization?
He wasn't immunized because to be immunized would mean he can't get COVID, and he clearly got COVID. Aaron Rodgers, man, let's just call him for what he is. He's a liar and a coward. That's basically what this comes down to. I want to debunk something real quick for the people listening, especially for the people that take the position of it's his body, his choice, which is an amazing thing for those people to say, because do they feel that same way about abortion? The people that are taking this hardline stance? No, they don't. So they're a bunch of hypocrites too. Aaron Rodgers, Carlton, can do whatever the hell he wants to do with his body. I'm not here to tell people to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. That's a choice that you have to make. You make that choice. I take issue with Aaron Rodgers spreading misinformation about the vaccine, especially when he has the platform that he has with the nonsense that he said in the interview with Pat McAfee. And I'll just give you the highlights to me that were just beyond absurd. First, he clearly, to me, my opinion, used the word immunized to deceive the public, because Aaron Rodgers wanted to portray it as he was vaccinated so that he could do whatever he felt like doing in terms of the protocols. And one of the protocols he broke was the media. He would go, all of the other Packers players who are not vaccinated, they did all of their meetings via Zoom. Aaron Rodgers would show up to the media room with no mask and do his to keep up this lie that he's vaccinated. And he was more than willing to put their health at risk because he felt they were safe, because according to him, they're vaccinated. He got tested in the morning, and that should be good enough. You've been in the health profession, my brother. Can I ask you something, man? Can you test negative for COVID in the morning and then test positive for it the next day?
Yes.
Thank you. That is well known. That is well known. Further in the interview, Carlton, right? Our guy, Aaron Rodgers, not our guy, this asshole, he keeps going and he says that an NFL doctor, that when he was applying for the exemption, he knew he wasn't going to get it because an NFL doctor told him, and I paraphrase, that if you just get vaccinated, there's no way you can get COVID and pass it on to someone else. I've never heard a medical professional say that. And if an NFL doctor said this, the ones that come up with the NFL protocol, why do they test vaccinated players, Carlton? Like his teammate, Devontae Adams, who is vaccinated. He tested positive. He had to sit out the game against Arizona. If the NFL doctors felt getting vaccinated meant you wouldn't get COVID or pass it on, why do they test the vaccinated players, Aaron Rodgers? That to me is a bold-faced lie. And then he goes, well, we clearly see that vaccinated people can get it. Who said that they can't? Who said that they can't? All we've ever heard is if you're vaccinated, your chances are slimmer of getting it. And if you do get it, it could potentially be less life-threatening. Doctors have even said if you're vaccinated and you have underlying conditions, you could still die from COVID. What is Aaron Rodgers talking about when he makes these statements? That to me is absurd. Then he follows that up with the treatment he's taking. I don't even know how to pronounce this word. Evictorin. Do you know what it is, Carlton? The stuff that Joe Rogan is taking?
I'm aware of it. I probably couldn't.
And I apologize for butchering the pronunciation of the word. But he goes, just look at India. Billions of people are taking it. If you look at India and their protocols, Carlton, you know what they've removed? That drug. That drug has been removed. So Aaron Rodgers is more than willing to go out there and be the arrogant asshole he is and use his platform to spread misinformation. And then I love how he cried victim and said he's going to be a victim of the woke mob and cancel culture. Would you have been a victim of the woke mob or cancel culture? Because Aaron Rodgers loves to tell us he's the man that tells the truth, right? He stands up there on his principles and gives us the truth. He could have said this is a private matter. He could have said that I'm not vaccinated. He could have done a number of things other than what he did, but he chose to do what he wanted to do because he didn't want to follow the NFL's protocols. He wanted to be unvaccinated, and he also wanted to have the same rules that vaccinated players have. Aaron Rodgers, to me, is just a deplorable human being in this situation.
Ooh, you use that D word.
He, in my opinion, should be suspended. It's just unbelievable that people that are coming to his defense about this. He got caught in a flat out lie. And what do liars do when they get caught, Carlton? They double down. They lie some more to try to justify their bullshit in the beginning.
I'm lit down for sure. Lit down for sure. Nothing to add. You covered it. You know, the Chiefs got the win anyway. So let's see. Let's see what the NFL says, because, you know, there's different stories, who knew what, when, where, why, how, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of what Aaron Rodgers has presented and represented, I can let it go.
And one more thing I greatly take issue from him. This is a quote from Aaron Rodgers, Carlton. Rodgers claimed, "I'm not some sort of anti-vax flat earther. I'm a critical thinker." I take great issue with him saying flat earther. Who's he taking a shot at when he says flat earther, Carlton?
Kyrie.
Thank you. Kyrie Irving at least had the balls, like a man, to stand up and tell you his position, and he's willing to lose money for his position. I respect that. Now, do I care for some of the things Kyrie says and does? No, but at least he's a man standing on what he believes in. And you are a coward that chose to lie and then cover up that lie with more lies and then spread misinformation. And you feel like you could take a cheap shot at Kyrie Irving? That's beyond unacceptable, man. Like, he's not a good human being. He's clearly in it for self. And I have no respect at all for him, Carlton. None.
Well, I can take the poster down, that's for sure. All right, well, you talked about Kyrie, and the NBA is in full effect. In fact, the Nets are playing now against the Bulls, up 74-70, third quarter as we record this. So I'm loving the performance of my Miami Heat. Now, granted, the handful of times I get to see them, two of those times, they have been lost, the two losses, Indiana and Boston, the other night. And so if they tell me not to watch no more, I'll take that, because I love how they looking. I love what they're doing. I love what they're doing. What have you seen so far?
I mean, I look at the East, man. I look at the East, and I think it's a three-team race, really. I believe the East is between Brooklyn, Milwaukee, the champions, and the Miami Heat. I agree. I'm impressed with the Heat.
Really not in the mix?
No. That Simmons situation is so crazy, man. I hope Ben Simmons is okay, Carlton, but if he's pretending he has mental health issues, I take issue with that. But I don't think Philly's in the mix until they handle that situation. So I would say it's those three teams in the East. In the West, obviously got the Lakers, but the Lakers look like shit right now. They need to figure out how they're going to make that work. But I'm going to go ahead and say it right here, man. If Klay Thompson comes back healthy, I will take the Golden State Warriors to win the NBA championship.
Yeah.
I will take the Golden State Warriors to win the NBA championship. If Klay Thompson comes back and resembles any form of his old self, and they're going to get Wiseman back at the center position, give me the Golden State Warriors, Carlton, in this. I will take that all day.
I was just thinking to myself, watching one of their games, that I miss them at the top. They are a fun team. Do I ever want one team to win it all? No, we played that game with the Patriots. That's not what I'm asking for. But I love having Golden State in the mix. And I caught Klay Thompson's interview, courtside interview, a couple games ago. And, you know, just hearing his perspective, his journey to acknowledge the hurt, the pain, the stress, the trauma, but how it's also just it's uplifting. And even getting left off of the top 75, where I sit, we could debate the whole list, who should and shouldn't be, but he didn't make it. And he was honest about that too. But then when that part of the interview came, you saw that something in the eye, that if he get back on the court and can stay healthy, which I hope he does, take your time coming back, Clay, but come back, man, they're going to be something serious.
They can afford him the time to come back right now, Carl. They're 8-1.
Yeah.
You saw they got Gary Payton's son on the team, Gary Payton II.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see him wham on Buddy the other week?
I did.
Oh,
his daddy didn't do that.
Soul. He snatched his soul, Carlton. He snatched his soul.
Man, yeah, I saw that.
I'm very impressed with the Golden State Warriors. And right now, if you ask me, assuming Klay Thompson comes back healthy, they are my #1 team in the NBA.
That's fair. I can.
James Harden looks like he doesn't know how to play basketball now that they changed the rules so he can't draw all those fouls. I don't know what he's looking like.
I'm not. It's kind of funny to watch. It's like watching comic reel, because then he's always like, look at what happened. Him and Trae Young having to figure this thing out.
But I love that rule change, though, Carlton. It brings me back to the basketball we watched a little more growing up. Carlton, last year we're watching games. It's like 140 to 130, 150 to 140. It's like, this is ridiculous. Now you're really having to earn these baskets, and you're not being able to draw these BS calls. And we see the effect, like you said, it's having on Harden, it's having on Trae Young. Do I think that will last, though? No. These are great players still. They will adjust. They will eventually figure it out. But clearly, it's having a detrimental effect to their game right now.
Mm-hmm. Right now. Yeah. They're pros. They'll figure it out.
Your Heat are down to the Nuggets, 30-25 at the end of the first quarter.
30-25. All right.
Trae Young plays Steph Curry and the Warriors tonight.
That'll be good.
If I wasn't so old, I'd stay up and watch.
I'll give it a few seconds. We'll see. All right. So transitioning to Are You Entertained? What have you been listening to?
What have I been listening to on the music front? Oh, I've been listening to Dead Prez. Dead Prez, the first album from Dead Prez, man. That album's not for everyone, but I love that shit. Like
So help our listeners understand you a little bit more deeper. So when you listen to it, what does it take you to?
I just like their commentary on society, man. Like, for example, two of my favorite songs on that album, Carlton, I don't know if you remember, Day Schools, where they talk about the education that Black people receive in the schools, especially as it relates to history. And that, to me, is, can be tied into what we're going through today with critical race theory. You know how I feel about critical race theory. I even hate the name, because what theory? This is no theory. This is the factual history of America. And if people don't want to be confronted with what actually happened, we're just going to be doomed to repeat that history eventually, though. So to try to avoid what actually happened, I'm not trying to guilt white people, any of that, because if you're around today and you had nothing to do with it and you're a good person, that it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. But to act like this didn't happen, to me, is just nonsense. And white people need to be confronted with it too, so they do not make the same mistakes that they have made in the past as well. And Day Schools is a great example of how history is taught in this whitewashed way to try to make it seem like everything was peaches and cream in this country, when it was really just a complete extortion and just immoral way that this country came about. And it's still felt today. So I love that song. I love the message that it sends. The other song I love on it is, I forget the name. It's the one where he talks about Hannibal the pig. and about how from Animal Farm, if any of you know the book Animal Farm, they basically tell that story where Hannibal the pig and the other animals overthrow the farmer because the farmer was a horrible person. But then the minute Hannibal and the pigs were able to overthrow him, they became corrupt with power as well. And they do a great job of just telling that story. It's a great album. Absolutely love it. I would recommend, if you never heard it, you definitely check it out.
All right. Well, I do want to come back to the critical race theory. To answer my own question, I have been listening to Wale's new album, For Lauren too. I love Wale. Once he and Rick Ross linked up, like I thought it was hot before that, but when he and Rick Ross linked up, he's gone into my music stratosphere. So that's who I'm listening to. But I want to bring up or jump into, what I've been reading, because to talk about critical race theory, the book that I bring up, actually, I didn't read myself. It's a book my son read called The New Kid. He participates in different reading challenges and things, different programs, encourage reading. Me and my household, we soak all that in. And so one of the reading challenges that he had, I guess last year, included this book, New Kid. It was on the list. And the author, Jerry Craft, was to do a virtual reading, so to speak, a meet and greet, talk about the book, what it means for him, for other kids. He was supposed to be talking to some students, some elementary age students about it. But it fell into the critical race category. So basically, Katy ISD, which is an independent school district located in Houston, several parents sent letters, had a signed petition saying that the book New Kid fell into critical race theory criteria, and they didn't want him or the book being thrown at their kids. And so, just so you know, the New Kid was awarded the John Newbery Medal last year. It tells the story of a 7th grader, Jordan Banks, and how he navigates his world at home and at a prestigious private school where he is one of the few minority students. So that's what the book is about. It's helping kids in the situation for the main character, who is a ethnic minority at a school, Black kid, new school. And it talks about his experience with the intention of helping other kids who may have or be dealing with a similar experience. Raise your hand if it applies. So it's just trying to help. But because we have a term now, because we have a thing that is now being politicized, you get a petition with 40 signatures, 400 signatures, I'm sorry, saying that kids who need books like this for encouragement can't get it. One, because you misunderstand the term, you don't understand the term, and ultimately our refusal as a country, community, society, the refusal to accept the history that it created, the history that contributes to it being exactly what it is today. Critical race theory.
But Carlton, the book is just as critical for the Black student as is the white student. The white student needs to read it too, so they can understand what the Black student goes through.
Understand what the other is going through, and you never know when you will be the minority in a room. We spend so much time talking about race and skin color, but it could be age, it could be gender, it could be profession, it could be the sports you like, it could be the games you play. Whatever it is, there's reasons that you will be the only one. And so something that will help the kids feel better about themselves, about their experience, is being missed out upon because of ignorance. And so you talked about critical race theory. And so I just want to state this so I know that it's heard.
Well, I'd like for us to not call it, I hate the theory part of it. There's no theory. We might as well just change it to critical race facts. There's no theory, man. These are just the facts of what happened in this country. To your point, Carson, let me read you this little snippet from the Heritage Foundation, a conservative organization, who blames critical race fact for these things. They blame them for the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. They blame it for LGBTQ clubs in schools. They blame it for diversity training in federal agencies and organizations. They blame it for California's recent ethnic studies model curriculum. They blame it for the free speech debate on college campuses. And they blame it for alternatives to exclusionary discipline, such as the Promise program in Broward County, that some parents blame for the Parkland school shootings. They blame it for the Black Lives Matter protests when Black people are actually dying. That was the reason for the Black Lives Matter protests.
Well,
what is the problem with the LGBTQ community having clubs in schools? That is harmful. That is hurting people. What They blame it for diversity training. These people have a problem with diversity training. Like, listen to the things they're complaining about, and they put it on this. It's like, this is just utter nonsense. This is just utter nonsense. Free speech debates on college campuses. We have an issue with that. In America, I thought free speech was celebrated. What does critical race back? I'm not calling it theory anymore. What the hell does that have to do with the Parkland shootings? They don't blame gun control or gun violence or any of these laws that allow these people to just be able to buy weapons however they want, no matter what caliber or whatever. That's somehow the fault of what they call critical race theory.
Right. So,
like, come on, Carlton.
This is what we're talking about. You are correct. What we're talking about, what debate is about, is not critical race theory. The debate is American history, period. Because critical race theory is a social science construct designed to understand how policies and societal constructs relate to or impact the race dynamics that exist in our country. It is a social science. When we're asking for history books to reflect the facts, when we want the truth to be told about Christopher Columbus, that is not critical race theory. That is US history being reflected accurately. What has happened is a term, a social science, being misapplied, reapplied, used to a political advantage, is abused, used, and manipulated, and just made into a blue, red, and white label that you can just smack on whatever you want to smack it on. And if it's a book, we don't want it, smack it on there. If it's a presentation, smack it on there. If it's a college curriculum, smack it on there. And we don't want that label in our presence. But what we're really talking about is American history being told truthfully.
And Carlton, you know, I get the part where that people want to say it's theory because it says that the systems that are in place in America inherently, whether we know it or not, or whether you're aware of it or not, inherently have racism in them. But dog, I'll prove it to you. There's no theory. 1930, government officials literally draw lines around areas deemed poor financial risk, often explicitly due to the racial composition of inhabitants. Banks subsequently refused to offer mortgages to Black people in these areas. What we were talking about earlier, Carlton, the trial of Ahmad Arbery. Look at the jury selection. I gave you the numbers. 55% in the city, Black. 27% in the county, Black, but the jury somehow was 11 whites, 1 Black. There is racism inherently in these systems, man. And look at how the gerrymandering, look at how they're trying to prevent people of color from voting. It's right in front of your eyes. There's no theory, my brother. This is just fact. These things are geared to keep people of color, especially Black people, down in this country. And I've told you this many times, Carlton, this system isn't broken. This system is working the way they designed it. And now that people are bringing it to the forefront that this system is corrupt and inherently unequal to all the citizens of America, people are flipping out about that?
Yes.
It's because they want their advantage to stay forever, Carlton.
Well, it can't and it won't. It's inevitable. I think that is a lot of, that's the vitriol around the collective reactions that we're seeing. But to get there, to get where we know we can be, is going to take the collective.
Yeah, but you can't get to the collective like you're saying if we're trying to sugarcoat what really happened in this country's history and not make all the races for every citizen in this country aware of what went down. You educate so people learn and we move forward trying to do better. You don't stop educating the truth because it hurts someone's feelings or makes them feel bad about their ancestors. It happened. Be better than your ancestors would be what I tell them.
In talking about what we listened to, what we read, I started watching Colin Kaepernick's show on Netflix.
How is it?
Colin in Black and White. And, everything we just said, critical race theory, American history, take the theory off, all of that stuff, race in America, he jumps in on. From his vantage point, you haven't seen it. For anybody who listening right now, you still in that cone of protection from spoiler alerts. You got a couple more weeks. So to not spoil it, what I will say is it is from his vantage point. It is his life being presented. But through the use of film, they go there and speak the things that we have been speaking about race in America. I made it a family watch. My son is not quite of, and I don't even know how that works, so I ain't gonna say no more. I ain't gonna tell him my parentals. But it's good, man. It's good, I think. I don't know what the net say about it, but I like it.
Check it out.
All right, so we're gonna take a break and we'll be back to conclude the show.
Unsolicited genius.
All right, before we call it a show, housekeeping. Check us out on YouTube, Unsolicited Genius. We will find our episodes there. And as we did a couple weekends ago for the Florida-Georgia game, we went live. So start looking out for more lives to come from me, Uncle Mo, and other members of our show as time goes on. We'll make sure you all are aware. We'll publicize, advertise, put it out there in any way, shape, or form. We'll get it in front of you to let you know. But if you have any interest in, join us on the show, you know how to get to us, let us know. Be prepared. But wherever you see us, do not forget to like, subscribe, share. All that means something to all that we're doing. And if there's anything, as we've said before, that doesn't vibe, you know how to get to us. Let us know too. You got anything, Uncle Mo?
Just love you all. Please be safe. Take care of your health. Do what you feel is necessary in order to make sure you are healthy and thriving mentally, physically. Be safe, y'all. Love y'all.
So for Thoughts of Genius, it's going to be the segment that we close each episode out with. I share today's to say, fear is not the absence of courage. To be scared, to be frightened, to have things that worry you is to be human. Courage isn't you're not scared. Courage is despite how you may feel, despite that thing that you are fearful of occurring, despite that emotion, you will still do this thing. You heard us talk about Aaron Rodgers. You heard us talk about don't let your friends drink and drive. Being courageous doesn't mean you aren't worried that people will talk about you. Being courageous doesn't mean that you aren't afraid of taking on this entrepreneurial endeavor and losing every penny to your name. Courageous is not being fearful of the woke crowd or of any crowd. If there is something on your heart and you have vetted it with your soul, do it, be it, speak it. And with that, we thank you for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. We're Unsolicited Genius, and we'll catch you next time.
You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.